Hello and welcome to episode 49 of the Ski Instructor Podcast. My name's Dave Burrows. I'm the director and owner of Snow Pro Ski School based here in Valdillier in Switzerland. What do we have here? Looking out of my window in my office, there is snow on the ground at about 1,100 metres, and it's snow. I've got a beautiful view right now of the Dent du Midi. Snowed all the way almost down to village level, which is pretty cool. And there is a kite lazily circling in the sky looking for food, I'm guessing, somewhere in the valley. And then we've got this kind of amazing blend of like autumn colours. So just like to the left of my garden there's this beautiful two sort of pair of like bright yellow trees. They've gone bright yellow in the autumn now. They're usually green. And then sort of dotted on the green hillside, there's all sorts of red trees and sort of yellowing trees. It's absolutely beautiful. And it's a really, really nice time of year, this. I love the colours that we have here in the autumn. So, so snow has come. I've been skiing quite a lot already. I've been 2 or 3 times I've been once to Cervinia, a couple of times to Glacier 3000, which is only about 45 minutes away from me and is relatively flat. So it sort of makes you feel like a hero early season, and it makes you get, or allows you to get all your movements and timing good before you start taking it to the steeper stuff when the more local skiing opens. So lots going on. I've been very, very busy with booking in ski lessons. It's gone absolutely crazy since October half term, since the school vacations, and those people now are really starting to think towards their holidays. We've sold out already a couple of the weeks, the busy weeks, and so as much as I hate to disappoint people, unfortunately, demand means that we're just not going to have enough instructors to service all the people that want to come to the region, which is good. And my experience, I think, is mirrored by everybody else. So it's going to be an extremely busy, back to normal season for everybody, I hope. Here we are then with episode 49. It's the second part of my interview with Simon Jones, who is the head freestyle coach at Kimberley in Canada. We talk in this episode about the sort of the structure of CSIA exams at the higher level. We also have a lovely chat about client service and how that is different in Canada compared to Europe. And we finish off talking about sort of teaching but teaching techniques and how the crossover is between skiing and golf, because Simon teaches golf in the summer there as well. And I've got loads. Finally, I managed to get this podcast organised, which is great. I've got loads of podcasts in the bag already. There's 1, 2, 3 really decent interviews, which I'll have to split up into parts, and that will probably see us through the winter for sure. And then I've got a load of names on my list that I'd love to get stuck into for next year as well. So enjoy this podcast or this episode of the podcast, and I will be back sometime in December with episode 50 episodes of the Ski Instructor Podcast. Would you believe it? I can't believe I've even found 50 people or 50 episodes worth of people to talk about, but it's brilliant, and I'm really, really glad that we're getting these people's experiences and knowledge down in a sort of open source forum, if you like, so that all the people that are new to the industry, or indeed those who are in the industry and have this sort of continuing thirst to learn like I do, have the opportunity to learn from the experience of all of these other people. And it's certainly something that you would never have been able to do 20, 30 years ago, or even further back than that. So I think it's becoming an amazing resource for those that wish to use it. Anyway, enjoy the interview, and we start off by talking about the structure of the CSIA. Enjoy the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, cool. All right. Well, let's tell me a little bit about. I'm sure we might have done this on a previous podcast, but give me a quick overview of what, for those interested, what the Canadian the system looks like. The things I like that I've heard about the Canadian system is that there's a certain sort of anonymity to it, as in the assessment is the assessment, and you know, you got a number on, and if you're good enough, you're good enough, kind of thing. But maybe just walk me through what it looks like, maybe from level 3 onwards. I'm guessing the Canadian 1 and 2 is more or less the same, you know, as all of the other 1 and 2s everywhere.
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, the level 1 got reduced to 3 days a few years ago. Mm-hmm. You know, but with all the levels, what I think a change in recent years is there's a syllabus of lessons, and it shows you some really good lesson plans that can work on. So, you know, whether you're teaching a level 1 or a level 2, the candidates have a really good understanding of what is required and how to structure a lesson. What are some of the common things you're going to come up against when you're teaching those type of lessons when you have customers. So I think that's been a huge evolution in the last couple of years. As you get into level 3, you know, I think you know it gets more difficult. You know, you're looking at trying to achieve you know, more precise maneuvers, and you know, making sure that people really have more of an acquisition phase to the skiing. And then level 4, you know, then just taking it that bit higher again. What's happened in the level 4 in recent years is it's gone to what we call a selection camp now. Mm-hmm. So it's a 2-day selection camp where you'll ski the required maneuvers that they're looking for. Yeah. And if you can get to that level, then you then get entered into the selection camp. And then there's a series of modules that you'll take, working with trainers in each module that really get to know you and really delve in and help you achieve the required levels that they're looking for. Mm-hmm. And then you go through to a final ski exam. So that's been a difference in the last couple of years. That probably came in about 18 months ago, 2 years ago now.
Now, do you know why they did that? Was there too many people kind of speculatively attempting the level 4, or is it?
I think, yeah, I mean, I definitely think, you know, the pass rate was very low, as I think it is across all the world, you know. You know, I've never met any organization where somebody said the level 4 is easy to achieve. But I think, you know, I'm just looking at it through my eyes. You know, there's lots of people that will go in for it that weren't at the desired criteria or at that level. Yeah. So instead of them keep repeating that and not getting to the level, hey, here's an entry level that we need you to be able to ski at. We need to be able to see that you can do some maneuvers that we can work with and get you to the required you know, level that we're looking for. So you know, there's definitely a debate out there. I'm sure not everybody's happy with it. You know, as somebody that's just going into that process, you know, I just went into the selection camp this year. You know, I found it great because I had a lot clearer picture of what they're looking for. Yeah. And you know, I think that, you know, under the right training, you know, again, once you get through to this, I think it's going to be fantastic to be able to ski with somebody through these different modules that are going to get you to that level. I mean, I think it's a great thing. You know, you're not now hitting your head against the wall. I think it's a lot clearer to see what they're looking for.
Yeah. Is there much more after those modules, or is that like once you've done that, that's that?
Yeah, so you've got to keep passing. You know, you would pass each module, so you could repeat it. You know, if you weren't getting to the desired result. Mm-hmm. But ideally, once you've completed those modules, you're then ready to go into the ski exam. And then at that point, you know, if you've gone through all of that training and all of that hard work, then you will be. You know, what they're really saying is, if in order for you to go through all of those steps, when it comes to the actual final exam, you should be at that. You're going to be at that level. It's not going to be a surprise. It's not going to be something that you're not aware of at that stage, right? Yeah. You know, whereas in the past, you'd have a lot of people that would be repeating the exams for several years, right?
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
And did you did the Swiss one?
Yeah, so I transferred from Basel into the Swiss Snow Sports, and from there you have to do a whole bunch of, you have to do something called the international equivalence, where they take a bunch of the tests from their instructor exam, and
Right.
you have to show them that you can do it, basically. And that is in a similar way. It's kind of anonymous, like it's not anonymous as such, but it's what they haven't got in the Swiss system is they haven't got that kind of thing that they had in the British system, which is where you sort of ski down to the trainer who's been teaching you all week, and he tells you whether you passed or failed. So
Right.
you do the tests that they ask for, and then in the tests that they ask for, they give you a mark, and then at the end of the course they shake your hand, say see you later, and they send you the results in the post. And it's much more, it takes all the pressure off of the learner. It's fantastic, because you just go up and you do the best that you can do, and that's that, you know.
Yeah.
But within that sort of journey to full cert in Switzerland, then, you know, because I was quite a long way through the Basel system, so I converted in, did their skiing tests. So that test that they do there is in order to see if you can ski as well as their top level skiers, basically. So
Right.
yeah, it's all the same test, you know, that you would have to do in the regular level 2 instructor thing, and then after that you have to do some other tests which are more theoretical, and then you have to do
Right.
dissertation and all this sort of stuff. So there's a whole bunch of other stuff that you'd have to do in French or German or Italian that you know isn't skiing, and that's the journey. If you convert in at a certain level, that was my journey anyway, and
Right.
yeah, so it kind of, I took a roundabout route about it, because I kind of halfway through I kind of got, I think I got almost kind of all the way with Basel, but I looked at the system, and the system to me seemed to be screaming out that everything was set up to go and be an instructor in France.
Yes. Yeah.
Right, that's what it looked like at that time. And I said to myself, well, look, I don't really, you know, my life is in Switzerland. I'm a Swiss kid, my wife is Swiss, like I live in Switzerland. Like, why am I jumping through all these hoops to be qualified to go and teach in France? I don't want to go and teach in France, I want to teach in Switzerland. And so at that point I kind of reactivated this Swiss Snow Sports thing that I was doing, and then that seemed to me like the logical direction in which to go. And turns out that I was right, you know, and I've ended up where I've ended up, so it's pretty cool. And I found the whole organisation, Swiss Snow Sports, much more friendly, much more kind of positive. And when you were arriving at the Brevet Fédéral exam, you know, everyone was like, yeah, you can do it, like, you know, no problem, go for it, you know, it's going to be all right. And that was refreshing, so refreshing. When you go on there and they're like refresher courses and their instructor courses, like everyone's rooting for you. It's so nice. It's really, really nice.
Yeah.
It's not like a shootout, you know. It's not like this big pressure wherever they're kind of pitting everybody against each other, which was always my impression of the Basel exam. It's just like, you know, everyone knows that there is, you know, that like the pass rate's always about 50% or slightly below. So, you know, who's going to be the shit one that isn't going to make it. And it's just horrible, a terrible environment to learn in, you know?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, I think that would be my view of the Basel system as well. You know, and that's not to bash it. That was just definitely
it's just experience, right?
You know, that process. Whereas, yeah, CSIA, you know, I mean, you know, I'm nothing but praise. You know, there's just always somebody there that wants to help, right? You know, whether that's you know, typically. I'm sure it's like most of the ski schools you've come across, you know, there would be, you know, the head of the ski school, typically a level 4. In most of the cases here, the head of the ski school are typically level 4 examiners, or level 4 trainers. And then there'd be a host of other people there as well that would lead session, lead training as well. So, you know, for me, that's been a continuous thing, right? No matter what resort I've worked in, you know, there's always been somebody there that wants to help you, right? And I think that's certainly what I felt, is people want you to be better. You know, they're encouraging you to keep working, to keep training. You know what? In through CSIA now, once you get your level 3, the next progression then would be to become a course conductor and that allows you to then examine level ones. And so there's a new component there, which is called the trainer development. And so in order to be a course conductor, a facilitator, you have to pass the trainer designation. And then that then is leading you into that pathway of going into level 4, then a selection camp. So, it's a very, very well structured now that the people that are going through that process are invested in themselves, I guess, and invested in becoming, the highest that they can be. So, I think now, certainly when I'm going on these courses and, the selection camp this year, I haven't done anything like that for a few years, but it's almost, you recognize most of the people that were there because you've all been in the process for a few years, right? It was nice because, you felt like you were all on the same journey, right?
Well, it's a similar thing. Yeah. You have peers that you go through the system with. And I know a whole bunch of people that I don't know the current crop. I don't know who there's a whole bunch of people who know, for example, Max knows a whole bunch of people I don't know. But I know a whole bunch of kind of people who went through it with me. And then I know a whole nother bunch of people who were on the same courses with me with Swiss Snow Sports. And it's really cool, right? Because you occasionally run into them and you sort of see how they're getting on. But certainly the ones that were on my course, they're all kind of running ski schools now and just kind of getting on with their life in the industry. And I met some really, really cool people during those things, who are all still around, all still doing stuff. It's really nice.
Yeah, I think it's a small community like that, right? When you see it like that, and obviously, as we started off the conversation, I think some of the people that I first trained with in Basie, as far as I know, most of them are still going.
Yeah.
I think, Phil Smith must be about 180 by now, right?
Yeah. Unemployable anywhere else. That's why we're all still doing it.
yeah, exactly, right. And I think that's it. I think that's what is unique, right? It's almost everybody that you meet when you go in to do these things is that's what everybody loves to do, right? That's why you're still there, right? We all love the sport. Again, going back to that first guy that I ever met, right? People were inspirational then and still are, right? I'm sure you've got some peers as well. I look at some of the people that were training us at the selection camp, and you're still blown away at how good some of these people ski. And I turn up to some of these things thinking, really, like, will I ever be that good? I don't know if that's the right attitude or not, but I think it's good to still look at people and go, you know what, that's amazing what they can do still.
Yeah, for sure. I've definitely got to the place where I'm no longer, I don't think I ever was like the best skier in ski school. But the next gen that have come through, because I'm starting now, the team that I've put in place this year is amazing. Like, I've got 2 ex-FIS skiers kicking around. I've got an amazing freestyle specialist, and these guys are just ski rings around me. It's extraordinary. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, what I'm going to do to avoid all this is I'm just going to telemark everywhere, and then you won't be able to comment. That's my plan for the future. But it's just that guy turns up with his telly skis, So yeah, it's cool. It's lovely to watch. It's really, really inspirational, to see and to put your own kind of ego aside and just be able to say, look, those guys, they rip, and that's cool. I'm cool with that. I'm very proud of them that they do rip. It's awesome. It's really cool.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I'm getting to the age now where there's people that I know that I was maybe leading session on 2, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and now those people are level 3, they're in the level 4s. I think that's phenomenal, right?
Yeah,
there's people that that have come through the system, and hopefully you've helped somewhere along the way, right? I mean, I think that's what I see the role as now is, how can you inspire more people to become instructors? I think that's a really good thing about the level 1 here in the Canadian system. Is it's a short course, and it's relatively inexpensive, I believe, compared to a lot of other nations.
Yeah.
Because you've got to get people into the system, right? You've got to how can you get more people to become instructors, right? And to support, right?
Well,
I think that's the Canadian system. Is really. I think it's really seen that and is really trying to work on how can we keep this sport going.
We've also, I think we've got a duty as well as to kind of, there is a long tradition of this in Switzerland, is kind of looking after stuff and preparing, preserving stuff preserving tradition, and also kind of you have a duty also to teach the new generation of instructors the right way to do things. So they'll obviously have their own ideas and ideas as to how things should be done, but there are certain fundamentals to how things should be done and how you should treat clients and how you should present yourself and all of that stuff, which shouldn't really change. And that needs to be passed on from generation to generation, the right way of doing things.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yeah. No, great. Yeah.
All right. Now so when we were exchanging correspondence, we were just talking a little bit about kind of, the whole Canadian friendliness thing. But there's a paragraph that jumped out in our correspondence, which said something like, just wanted to say, totally agree with all the comments regarding customer service techniques and hospitality skills. I think CSIA does a great job of explaining that now with our current content. Whenever I'm teaching level 1 instructors, I try to hammer home the need for returning clients. And that, I think, is super interesting. It's something I also talk to my instructors about. Is that clients don't grow on trees. There's a lot of kind of, there's a lot of stuff gets involved in getting that client to be standing there in front of you. All you've got to do is not mess it up, and all you've got to do is deliver a really, really good session, and then they'll keep coming back to you because you're the man, right? You're the man or the woman who is there. That you're their instructor. You have the potential to be their instructor forever. And I thought that was interesting. But is that the thing that you mentioned here about CSIA having that as part of their content, client service and hospitality skills? Can you expand a little bit about what CSIA says about that kind of stuff?
Yeah, certainly. In terms of what's getting delivered right now is what they call the collaborative approach, and it starts off with in essence it's a circle, and we work around the circle. In the middle of the circle is know your learner. So it's if I could get all this right: psychological, physical, aspirational, performance, and skill. Okay. So it really is getting you to delve into the client, find out what are they looking for. We've all been on that lesson where you think you're trying to deliver every technical component out the manual, and really they just wanted to spend 4 hours with you, and chat. They're just looking for a friend, right? So I think what's great there is that starts that process of you understanding why are people here, what are they there for, and I think once you know that, then that stops some of the pitfalls that maybe we've all gone into in the past, where you've ended up delivering something that wasn't what somebody wanted. So that creating that experience for them, designing the lesson based upon what the individual is looking for, and then assessing them as they go. We kind of move into assessing the experience, objective versus outcome. Is it, what's the cause, what's the effect? And then it moves into exploring, so then we're moving into changing the environment, changing the tactics, changing the terrain. Are they looking for to learn more skills? So I think that framework just enables you to structure the lesson a lot better. As a level 1, we spend really vast parts of the first day getting them to understand those elements. What is somebody looking for? Why are they there? We're talking about the safety on the mountain and all those aspects that I think every organization does. But it's really just trying to get them to understand, why are people there, right? What are they here for? How long are they here for, right? Is this a week's holiday? Is this hey, I've just flown in for the day and I just want to see what skiing is all about? So we really go through the meet and greet process, creating trust, creating confidence, which enables the lesson to run a lot smoother. going into the equipment, explaining what the equipment is, and then going through all the skills that I think are probably similar during different organizations. So I think as a level 1 candidate coming into the system, we really work on that. And we use, certainly I do as well, using a lot of games just to get people to understand a little bit more about each other, what they like to do other than when they're skiing, and really just kind of breaking the ice. I think there's a lot more of that goes on during the lessons. And then, as we move into our staff training every year for the ski schools, certainly in this area, again, it's a big part of what we're teaching is, knowing the mountain, knowing all the little, all those little details. And I think that's what I've changed, and that's what I've certainly learned when you're in Canada is, knowing those spots to go to, right? What is on the menu today? All those little hidden things that you don't get taught in the manual, but they could just make such a difference to the experience for the day. Hey, you know what? We're going to go over this side of the mountain right now because this is where the sun is today. Just lots of little things that I'm sure you do, Dave. Now, just you just do it matter of fact, right? But I think CSIA is trying to bring that in a lot more and getting people to really make those lessons, I guess, more personalized, maybe generic. Would that be the right thing to say?
Yeah, I think so. And it's tough to know that when you don't know anything, right? So if you're like a fairly new instructor, it's difficult. So why not put it in there as opposed to kind of having to discover that over the course of a career? It's for me, I think sometimes the ski instructor systems get bogged down a little bit with technique, and I don't see enough commercial focus within the manuals that I've read, certainly across 3 or 4 different instructor systems that actually come to tell us, all right, it's all well and good. Here's a whole bunch of technical info. Here's how you academically break down and put labels on skiing. Fine, no probs. But actually, is anyone sitting around considering that that's the customer over there? And that's the guys whose needs is all important, because unless we service that, then he ain't coming back.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And I think, some of that I'm sure is my own liberal understanding and maybe a background, coming through more sales and marketing. Is just to deliver that to, that people can see, this lesson that you have today, this could be a repeat lesson for many years to come. And I'm sure we've all had those, right? Where you've had the same clients that come back and back year after year, right? I don't think it's because of any inspirational thing that you're telling them in the manual.
Well,
it's because they love the banter, or they love, they love the fact that the restaurant that they like, or the wine that they like, or, you're just sharing some insights into the place. And, I think with the level 1, I think as course conductors, we're allowed to explore that a little bit more and bring that side to it. And, and I think you have to, we're all here because we love doing it. But at the same point, you have to earn a living. And the only way you're going to earn a living is if those people keep coming back, or if they refer you to their friends. And I think that's something that I'll talk about a lot is, I've had clients that have literally, opened the door to a whole host of other clients for me, and that's huge, right?
I think so. I've certainly got clients that I've been skiing with for years and years and years, and I often wonder why they come back. I'm not that interesting, am I? I'm not they must have heard everything that I have to say, because I know I'm sitting there delivering the lesson. I'm thinking I've kind of sometimes run out of ideas, and I've taken them to a point where I think, I don't know how much further we can go, without you getting bored of what I'm saying. But there's obviously some sort of connection there. I'm guessing it probably looks a little bit like trust, or feels like trust, maybe.
I think so.
And so you're like, I don't want to go with anyone else because, I trust this guy and I know him, and this is, he knows me. I think that might be it. It's like this. You don't have to spend an hour and a half of a 3-hour lesson explaining to a new instructor what all the issues are. you know, in order for them to kind of go off on their direction. It's like, oh, okay, well, we don't waste that time. We just spend like 3 hours, bam, right? It's a continuation from the previous lesson, because I can remember all the stuff we were working on before. We don't often swap clients between instructors at my ski school, unless it's a real, you know, scheduling issue that we can't get away from. But even so, then if that does happen, I make sure that the two instructors talk to each other and give the information to make sure it's as seamless as possible. You know, like, so here's what you were working on. He already knows that, and he's going to tell the new instructor where you left off, so that, you know, that person can fill in for the week, and then you can go back to your regular instructor. It's quite important, that concept of lost time. Maybe there's something in that.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, I think we, you know, it's something, you know, it's having that ability to tailor the lesson to what the person's looking for, right? Yeah. So you know, it is knowing that, like, what are they here for? What are they there? You know, I mean, I'm sure you're the same as me. You know, I've had lessons where, you know, I've met somebody there on the beginner slope, and there's always a couple that really stick in your mind. You know, I remember a lady coming over to me and she said, listen, you know, I hate skiing, don't want to be here whatsoever. This is my boyfriend. I love him very dearly, and this is his passion. He's going to go away and ski. We're going to stay on the beginner hill, and we're going to walk around for 2 hours. We'll have lunch, and we'll do the same in the afternoon. And when he comes to collect me, I'll tell him, you're great, and I've had a wonderful day. Are you okay with that?
Immense.
You know, and you know, deep down, you know, the instructor in me wants to teach you everything, right? And I think I think I was like, yeah, okay, great. You know what? I'm just going to show you a few things. And I could tell, like, she just had no desire to do that. We walked around on one ski. We went out, had a great lunch, got to know each other. Yeah. And, you know, at the end of the day, she was happy. I get a big, nice tip because he's happy. And you know what? Maybe that was it, right? You know, we haven't harmed her. You know, maybe we haven't brought her back. But at the same time, you know, sometimes you just have to listen to what people say. And, you know, I think the CSIA, you know, again, if you look at that level 1, which is the entry, right? You know, it's people skills, you know, is highlighted all the time, right? And, you know, with the guys that we have this year, you know, we have a gap program that runs out of here called Snow Mines. So it's predominantly like Danish, Swedish. I don't know if you guys have come across them.
No, okay.
And so they will come in and they'll do their training to pass their level 1 at the start of the season, and then they get hired into the ski school. So, you know, for me, that level 1 is definitely unique, because not only am I trying to get them through the level 1 because these guys need to work for the whole season, but you're also trying to set them up with all the skills that they need, right? You literally downloaded everything you've learned for the last 10, 20 years so that you know that these guys can survive, right? Otherwise, they're going to be living off crackers and craft dinner, right? You know, so, you know, you're trying to explain to them how to progress the lesson, you know, what terrain to use so you know, you don't lose the client, you know, all the things that, again, that I'm sure we do without even thinking now. But, you know, I find those level 1s are quite intense because I know that they're coming to work for the whole season. They've never worked in a ski school before. So you're really trying to fire them up with everything that you can, right? And, you know, in the level 1, they have lesson plans set out. I'm not sure if that's the same in the Swiss system now. So we have a progression that takes you from literally never putting a ski on all the way through to intermediate turns, which is really, then they can print them off. They've got them in the pocket, and it's something they can refer to for the whole season there.
Wow, that's really cool. That gives them a really nice tool, doesn't it, to kind of work with?
Yeah,
okay,
definitely, right? Because
you've
it
at least got
gives you the pitfalls, you know, hey, why can't somebody do this? Well, you've got a quick little reference manual there. So hopefully you're starting to know yourself from the skills and things you've been doing. But if you've got any doubt, you've got this reference tool to look at then, which literally tells you, hey, you know what, Mr. X or Mrs. can't turn or can't complete the turn. Why is that? And they can just go through the checklist and keep working on the lesson to get them to the right point. So I think that's fantastic. You know, I think that kind of stuff, you know, that's certainly stuff that wasn't available when I came into the system. You know, in the freestyle world, when you become a freestyle coach, you leave with a 12-week book that takes you from never ever all the way through to, I would say a fairly good freestyle skier in terms of being in the park and doing 360s and that kind of thing. And it's a whole progression about going on a box, doing a rail, everything that you would need. So again, I think the more of those tools we could give people, I think that's great, right?
Yeah.
It's got something to look at all the time, right? I'm sure we all still get lost on something, right? There's a client that you're like, hey, you know what, I'm just not sure what to do here.
Yeah, tell me about it. Do you think though that kind of additional focus on I don't know, like hospitality, is that a Canadian thing? Because you seem quite friendly people.
Yeah, I 100%. I've definitely worked with a few people from CSIA, and I don't think it's that dissimilar. I think it's a North American thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think generally, there are a lot friendlier people. They're not too swayed by too many political things that are going on in the world. So I think they're a little bit more even keel, most Canadian people that I know.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if any of them are listening, they agree with that. No, I think it's just understanding that hospitality industry, right? That, if the person has a good lesson, then they're going to go into the bar and spend money. They're going to go into the restaurant and spend money. They're going to go into the retail outlet that's at the ski hill, and maybe treat themselves to something from the shop there, right? Because they've had a good lesson. So, it's that whole process, right? That the ski school is just one small element of that whole industry, or that whole holiday, or that whole experience for the customer, right?
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. I think they're
just more in tune with that, right?
Yeah, and it only takes like one person to kind of let that whole thing down. That's the other thing, and I don't think that's certainly something that's missing from the kind of the Swiss and the. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. It's not in all resorts, but in certainly there isn't enough, because everything is separate. I imagine where you work, is it the case where you are in Kimberley or Fernie Panorama, like there's a lift company that owns and employs everybody on the mountain?
Yes, yeah.
So everyone's bought into the same idea, right? So where we are in Switzerland, you've got me rocking up for the ski school, like, I know what our standards are, and I know what we're going to deliver, but I can't guarantee the experience of the lift infrastructure, the lifties and all those guys. Sometimes you have. I remember at Morjan, used to be the most grumpy guy there ever, and I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, you're the first person that people see when they get on the mountain, and like, we're bringing beginners up your lift, and you're shouting at people this, that, and the other because they don't know how to do it. So they don't know how to do it because they're beginners, right? Because they're learning how to do it. So you've got to help them. That's your job, right? That's what you were employed for, and you've got to do a better job. Eventually he was fired. I think he went out with, like, he was a mate of like the guy who owned it or something. He was useless, and that's like the face of the resort, for that guy. And then you've got the guys that work in the restaurants and stuff, and all of these guys, they're all separate. They're all kind of separate individual companies. And I would never, it's not in my nature to kind of sit there and say that one company running everything is a good idea, because I don't think that is. But it needs to be more joined up. The tourism aspect of it needs to be more joined up, and people need to be aware that any bad experience where they touch the mountain, any bad experience that touches them just means they won't come back.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a more understanding for that out here. In the summer, from the golf course perspective, we have 7 golf courses in a very short radius, and it'd be easy for us all to work against each other, but we actually work really well together, and we all understand that if one course is busy, the next one gets busy, and vice versa, right? Most of the people that we're seeing are coming to play all of these courses, or a vast majority of them. So, again, we're in the business of getting those people to come back year after year. Like, there's so many other places for them to go, and it's the same with the skiing, right? We've got a in Western Canada here, right? I know lots of people could say it, but you could arguably say some of the best skiing in the world, right? So, what makes them come back to Kimberley, right, or Fernie or Panorama? It is the people, and I 100% agree with what you said. We've definitely got our fair share of some people that you're not sure why they're working in that industry, right? The lifties and different people who always seem grumpy. But again, I think, I'd like to see that. I'd like to say that when I deliver level 1, people see this. The more of those people you can get to know, even the grumpy ones, I just go out of my way to find out what they like, right? What do they like to do? What do they listen to? What music do they like? What do they drink? And even if they are grumpy, when I go to the lift in that morning and I've got my level 1 group that are coming and I know that guy's name or that lady's name, I can throw something at them just to give them a little bit of banter.
Yeah.
And I think the group sees that, right? So everywhere you go, there's some banter with whoever's running the lift or whoever's the bartender or whoever's the, and I think they see that and they then in turn get to know all these people, right? I think there's a bit of a chain reaction there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think so. And that's a good thing. It's nice to be known around the mountain. If you've been there a long time, you know everybody, and you can kind of ski up to a place and it's like, this is Mr. X. He's skiing with me today. This is this guy who does this in his spare time. Blah. It's just nice. You feel like you're welcoming someone to your environment.
Yeah, this is your backyard. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
There's two more things if you've got time.
Mate.
Our email that we were exchanging says, on a recent level 1 course, I had 6 middle/high school teachers. Normally we have a number of gap students who never taught before. This group was incredible. Lessons were amazingly creative and I stole several ideas from them. I wonder if you'd be willing to tell us all about that and maybe tell me those ideas so I can steal them from you. Pass them off as my own ideas.
Oh no, yeah. Put me on the spot here now. Hey, it's funny. I don't know if it's the same for you, right? But a month or two off snow and my mind's just kind of gone blank.
It's funny, isn't it?
Like I said, I guess for the talking through some of the level 1s, I've been lucky the last couple of years. I'll probably do 3 level 1s a season. The first one is typically people from the GAP program that are coming to pass the level 1, and then they literally, they'll pass the level 1 on the Sunday, and they start at the ski school on the Monday. Mm-hmm. It's literally that quick. And then we'll have a lot of people that were just, local people that or people that are thinking to get into the industry, that type of level 1. So it could be a mixed bag, literally going for somebody that's just got through, like CSIA has dropped it now. I believe it's 15 years of age that you can come through now, all the way up to, last year I think I had a guy who was like 79.
Nice.
So you're kind of prepared for every walk of life, right? But in this particular case, there was some teachers that wanted to just be better and ski with the students. So here we have a lot of half-day Fridays. So people will ski together in the afternoon. A lot of the schools will have a program like that. And so I do the level 1 here with 6 school teachers, and all this learning side and all the things that we've covered in our podcast so far, these guys just do on a daily basis, right? So, you're talking through it, but they've just got it all naturally, right? They teach every day, right? And just watching them do lessons, when you can have that group that is so insecure and so nervous about teaching to their peers. Yeah. Here we have 6 people that are just, as if they're just Hollywood actors, right? It's just fantastic, right? Just no inhibitions. Yeah. And, just little thing, I remember that, we were doing a pole plant lesson, and, they were using the pole, again, one of the things I stole, they basically did a whole 007 act using ski poles. And I was just blown away, right? I was just like, I never really looked at it like that. So it was just interesting the way they just took stuff and just turned it into, I guess, a performance. That might be the better thing to say. And I was like, I guess lessons could be a performance, right? Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
One of the things, I'll give you one because I don't know whether this is because it's something that I picked up. I can't remember who told me this, but it was really cool. Because one of the things I think when you're teaching like a braking snowplow, is that if the only place that you can learn a braking snowplow is by pointing yourself down a hill and braking using a snowplow, right? Yeah. But you can sort of simulate the feeling of the skis cutting the snow and doing that braking job by going down onto the flat, asking your student to kind of, make their snowplow position and giving them your ski pole, so you come off the skis yourself, giving them your ski pole and sort of dragging them along and asking them to resist you, but on the flat.
Yeah.
And it gives them all the sensation of it, so you can get them to practice the gliding snowplow or the braking snowplow, you can do it with either, whilst in a non-threatening environment. So one, it gets them used to the action and the feeling and the technique, and then secondly, it's kind of in an environment where it can't go wrong.
Right.
And yeah. I've added that into kind of my progression that I teach, which is a mishmash of all these kind of things that I've learned over the years.
Yeah.
But I put that in because I find that as to be quite a useful little thing for clients when you're teaching that kind of beginner, complete beginner thing.
Right.
Just gives them that.
Yeah. No, 100%. Well, I can remember, again, I remember the 007 one because I've kind of stole that and added it in a few times for sure. But the way our progression goes is like I said, we go from, literally never ever to straight gliding. Mm-hmm. And then we go into speed management, so braking in the snowplow. So the straight gliding is always one of those lessons where, how much you can do. And I can actually remember the person's name, it was Brad. And so he did a full Winter Olympics straight gliding. So simulated every single sport as he was doing his straight glider lesson. And again, I've definitely used that, right? In the level 1 since, right? It was just fantastic. We had this guy pretending he was on a skeleton to the bobsled it was just outstanding, right? Did a little bit of ballet ski, he was on ice skates. Fantastic, right? Yeah. And again, I think it's just more, you see how people react to that, right? And then a big component of the level 1 is teaching children. And that was the one that I think really struck me, because that's definitely a lesson when you're dealing with some older, mature adults, getting them to get into the teaching mode or that kind of character to teach children is hard, right?
It sure is, yeah.
And again, watching these teachers, straight away, what's the first thing they do when they, so they come out to simulate teaching a children's lesson, and straight away they take the skis off, they're down on the ground at a lower level, talking to everybody, right? All these things, again, that I know that but when you see somebody else deliver that and you see how effective it is, it just resonates more, right? Yeah.
No, I completely agree. I shadowed one of Max. I put in place, actually, in my ski school this year, a thing where everyone has to shadow each other. So you've got to find time within the schedule to shadow one of the other, instructors. So everyone kind of gets a flavour of everyone else's style. But I shadowed Max last year on something, and I kind of dropped in on this lesson, and he was talking about peanut butter and scraping peanut butter across the snow as like a kind of introduction to rotation and edging, I'm guessing. But I was sitting there, and these kids are captivated by this thing about peanut butter, and I'm just like, that's brilliant. That's just brilliant. Fine, stealing that, It's But it's pretty cool. Right. Last question because I've kept you long enough. We've been going forever. Talk to me about golf, right? Golf skiing crossover. I've only just thought of this, so it's just tell me. Feel free to just tell me to go away. There's two things to this. One, arguably, golf and skiing, both kind of mental games. You're not really playing anybody else. You're playing yourself.
Yeah.
2, when I play golf, I don't keep score. I'm a reasonable golfer, but I don't keep score because of 0.1. Essentially.
Right. Oh, love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
So I play much better. So I go for an aesthetic now. So if I go play golf, if I hit 2 or 3 in a round, 2 or 3 absolutely that's what I meant to do, or that was a beautiful shot, I can walk away from the course happy, knowing that I've kind of added to the landscape in essence. But yeah.
Brilliant. You know what? I think that's perfect. If you can come away and do that, that's great. How many times are you having a bad round and the 18th hole, you make a great putt or a great drive, and that's just what brings you back.
It is, isn't it? Every time. Yeah.
Yeah, golf is definitely mental. It's interesting. The more you do both, the more they just align together. I guess firstly, a lot of the people that I'm teaching skiing, I teach golf.
Okay.
And, so that's that obviously makes it a lot easier. I mean, it's amazing. If I think, literally this year, I can think of 10 or 12 private lessons that I've had in the golf season so far, that are people that I taught in the ski programs this year.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I got a similar thing with football. A lot of football kids we ski with, and it's like a circle, like one feeds the other.
Yeah, I think so, right? And what are you doing in the summer in ski resorts, right? So I guess that's the easy parallel for both of us. Again, I think it's because hopefully you've built a trust factor. They like what you've taught them, or they've liked your approach in skiing, and that's translated then into the golf. Lots of similarities, like you said. You're starting from the ground up, right? Certainly in golf teaching now, there's a lot more emphasis on the ground and using ground reaction forces to deliver more power through the golf swing. Stance and balance, literally, I would say 90% of the golf lessons I teach have some form of posture related examples or techniques that we have to work on. And alignment is almost in every single lesson I teach, whether it's a guy that's going to become the amateur champion in the province or somebody that's just learned to play golf today. It's alignment seems to be the number one. And then it's sort of the biomechanics. Ironically, in the golf world, I've been teaching biomechanics for a lot longer than in the ski world. It might sound a bit odd, but maybe the Tom Gelly style of things, and certainly in the CSIA, we can see there's a way more biomechanics now. I think that's been more prevalent in the golf world for a lot longer. They kind of got into that a little bit earlier, I would say. I'd say. So there's a lot more explanation in the golf of hey, if this is what the pelvis is doing, this is why you can't swing properly. Loss of posture is coming from as a result of the way your body moves. And years ago, when I first began teaching golf, you just try to get everybody to perfect this perfect swing. Whereas now I'd like to think I'm a lot better. Hey, I understand what your limitations are. I do a physical assessment with you. So I use a program called TPI, which is a screening process that goes from literally the way you move your pelvis all the way to the way you move your wrists, forearm rotation. We go into everything. We understand what your internal, external rotation is in your pelvis. And then we depending on the result of those tests, we create a swing that works more efficiently for you. So it's quite an interesting process, that.
Yeah, we don't have that yet in skiing, does it? I guess there's not as much money in skiing to be made out of that kind of biomechanical analysis.
Yeah, it could be. I think it's coming. I really do. If you look at, again, I'm using Tom Gelly as an example, how many people are listening to his podcast now, how many people are introducing some of the things that he talks about into their ski lessons. I've seen that a lot more in the last year or two. I don't know if that's reached your world there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, I certainly take a bunch of stuff from what he talks about. There are... no two golf swings are the same. No two skiing styles are the same, right? Like you can mimic stuff, but you can't. Your personal movement pattern is unique to you, but not everyone can see that. It takes years of listening to information. Like you get from Tom, like you get from some of the other sources, doing your own reading and research to understand, how all of that works. Warren Smith is quite good at that. Like he talks a lot about the biomechanics. I learned a lot from him about that kind of thing. And you're right, but I think golf is way ahead on that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think I'd just like to think it's something that the ski world is adopting more. Jeff Marks out here. He's our head of CSIA out here, and I know certainly, I would say certainly some of the sessions, and we have what we call PD days here, which just no matter what level you are, you're going for a session with people that are the same qualification as you, and I feel it's coming into all of those sessions a lot more than maybe it was 5 years ago. And maybe the introduction of things like carve and stuff like that as well, right, to give them more data points that people can see a little bit easier. But I think it's great, and it's certainly something that I've been explaining to people is, if you look at this skier coming down the hill, we need to understand what they're doing, but it doesn't mean you can do that, right? Because I've seen you, and I know that you can't actually do a sit-up, so there's no way you're doing that, right? Or I know that you've already told me that your hamstrings are tighter than a guitar string, so I know that you can't move like that.
No, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think it's an evolution, but I do like it. It's very similar. I think it's amazing how similar it is teaching both. I guess that was always the dream, and it has come to fruition, is to be able to teach both. The third dream was playing for Liverpool, so I guess 2 out of 3 is not bad, right?
That talking to high standards, the level of pro football these days is like, that's another world.
Yeah, totally.
It's
but no, it's been great. Like I said, the seasons were, it's pretty much simultaneously for me. The ski season stops certainly in this part, and the golf season kicks in almost straight away. Like the first year I was in Kimberley, the ski hill closed on the Saturday and the golf course opened on the Sunday. It's that rapid, because we're 1,000 feet different from the ski hill to the golf course. So, if you can understand that, you can probably see how I was playing on grass while we're still skiing at the same time.
You could do that here too. At certain south and north facing areas, you can go. This is the problem that we fight here in the Porte de Soleil, is that a lot of our clients we draw from the lake, so they're kind of like they're living by the lake. So when the time you get to March, it's already 20 degrees down there. So they don't understand that skiing is still going on up where we are, and there's still some amazing conditions to be had, because as far as they're concerned, the flowers are out, right? It's spring. So convincing people to keep coming in March and April when the conditions can be really, really good, it's tough when you've got people looking out their door and it's bright blue sunshine and people are swimming in the lake and stuff. It's crazy.
Oh, nice. Well, hopefully I'll get to see you there one day.
Yeah, well, you said, I'm going to hold you to this, because you said you've got to do an away week one season, so you are more than welcome to come and try your hands on what we do. Yeah. Simon, how can people find you if they need to find you? Do they contact you directly, or do they find you through the ski school, or how does it work?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, through the ski school, for sure. Both Fernie and Kimberley are run by the same organisation, Resorts of the Canadian Rockies. So you can book lessons through there. You can request me for the season. There'll be up and coming programs at both hills.
Okay.
And then I guess online as well. I am on Instagram. So you can find me on there at Green. It's called at Green or White. So,
okay.
I guess you get the idea there.
Yeah, I do. Right.
I'm either on the green stuff or the white stuff. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Cool. Well, look, I despite the technical difficulties that we had, I've thoroughly enjoyed this chat. Thank you so much for taking the time.
No, thanks, Dave. It's been great. It's been great listening to the podcast and the people you've had on. So, keep up the good work, and thanks for your time.
Cool.